Chelsea go to Turf Moor to take on Burnley and will try to extend their unbeaten start to the season with another win. But will Eden Hazard be fit to start? Does last night's hat-trick put Loftus-Cheek in contention to start on Sunday? And who will start up front? Olivier Giroud or Alvaro Morata? To find out about all of that and everything you need to know about both teams, make sure you watch all of this preview. Hello there guys and welcome back to 100% Chelsea for my preview of the Burnley versus Chelsea game taking place of course on Sunday afternoon, basically the early kickoff at 1:30 PM UK time. And I'm very much looking forward to the game. It's always a tricky game away at Burnley, but it's good to be back in the Premier League. I enjoyed the Europa League last night, but we all prefer the Premier League, don't we? So I'm looking forward to that. Of course, this is the preview. There will be a review, there will be fan cams, there will be a vlog, there will be all sorts of content surrounding the game. So if you don't want to miss out on any of that, do make sure you subscribe to 100% Chelsea. And also, let's see whether we can hit 500 or more likes in this video. That'd be massively appreciated. So if you could smash that like button down below, that'd be absolute class. But now getting into the preview and starting it off by speaking about our opposition, Burnley. And Burnley currently sit in 13th on 8 points from 9 games played so far, with 2 wins, 2 draws and 5 defeats, along with a goal difference of -7 after scoring 10 while also conceding 17. Now the start to the season was absolutely dreadful for them, but the last few games actually went pretty well. Beat Bournemouth 4-0 to get their first win a couple of weeks ago, won 2-1 away at Cardiff as well, got a 1-1 draw with Huddersfield, but last week they were absolutely battered by Manchester City as they lost 5-0, and a few weeks before that they were also knocked out of the League Cup by League One side Burton Albion, which obviously isn't a great result either. Now usually they tend to play in either a 4-4-2 or a 4-4-1-1 formation. Burnley, a proper English side really. Like, obviously I'm taking a piss, I'm not being serious, but that's what they go with anyway. Goal scoring wise, none of their players, stand out so far this season, but obviously it's the usual dangermen in Sam Vokes, Ashley Barnes mainly, but along with them also James Starkowski, the centre back, especially from set pieces of course. Now, like I said, a typical English side, 4-4-2 formation. Even in their win against Cardiff, let's re-emphasize that, they had less of the ball than their opponent. And in pretty much every other game so far this season, including their 4-0 win over Bournemouth, they even had, less than 40% possession. So, possession-based football isn't exactly what Burnley do. But even with all of that being said, Burnley, especially at Turf Moor, is always a difficult opponent, even when they're in bad form. And even if we're only 2 points behind them, we're not Man City. Just because they beat them 5-0, and that wasn't even at Turf Moor, but just because they beat them 5-0 doesn't mean we're going to do that. Plus, Burnley didn't have a midweek game like we did, of course, last night, and will have had all week to prepare for the game against us, which we obviously don't have, anywhere near that. But I still think we're going to win, but it definitely won't be easy by any stretch of the imagination. And Burnley, along obviously with their manager Sean Dyche, who's everything but an idiot and really knows what he's doing, they will make it very tough for us. As you might know by now, after playing in the Europa League on Thursday, there is no Premier League pre-match press conference held on Friday, by the manager. So at this stage, we do have no update on Eden Hazard's fitness situation and whether he'll be fit to play on Sunday or not. Obviously, after missing last night's game with some sort of back problem after the Manchester United game, I don't think it's a serious injury and he will probably be back, but we just don't know for sure. Maybe Sarri will just rest him just to make sure, but maybe he'll just be on the bench and come on for like half an hour if we need him. Maybe he'll start. We just don't know. At this stage, we just don't know. But there are still a few things that Sarri said after the game last night in his post-match press conference that I would like to mention now. And obviously, he was asked about Ruben Loftus-Cheek and he praised him for his performance, especially going forward, but also said that Ruben and all of the other midfielders, especially the other like Kovacic and Barkley that kind of fight with Loftus-Cheek for that one spot, have to improve on the whole, tactically, defensively and positionally. And also, he said previously in an interview with Chelsea that while we do mostly play his general idea of football, we don't play it anywhere near quick enough just yet. So that is obviously something that the whole team, but especially the midfielders, also have to improve on. And Sarri went on to saying that he obviously has selection issues, especially in midfield, with 4 players competing for 2 positions in Kovacic, Barkley, Loftus-Cheek and N'Golo Kanté for the 2 midfield spots in front of Jorginho or Fabregas, whoever of the 2 plays, of course. But then he said the 3 of them all have basically the same characteristics and are offensive-minded midfielders, while Kanté is the only, defensive-minded, out of the 4. And that's why until the other 3, Kovacic, Barkley and Loftus-Cheek improve, especially in the defensive phase, that those 3 are basically, competing for that one starting spot in the Premier League games, because obviously Kanté is set to start because you just need that one, just more defensive-minded player in there as well. And Sarri did say in the future, maybe, if they do improve, he will be able to start something like Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Ross Barkley in midfield, along with Jorginho, to start with that in the midfield. But right now, he basically said that he can't do that. And he kind of does have a point. I mean, Kovacic certainly is more capable and more used to playing in a defensive role than the other two are, especially because, Kovacic played quite a defensive role in midfield at Real Madrid. But, Sarri clearly doesn't seem as just good enough at that part of the game yet. So, I do see differences between all of them three, especially between Kovacic and the two English boys, for just that reason that I just mentioned. But they do still have kind of similar characteristics, especially, Loftus-Cheek and Barkley. But that is exactly the reason why I recently tweeted. Follow me on Twitter if you don't already. It's Lars57 on both Instagram and Twitter. Links are also in the description. Follow me over there. That'd be class. And I also said it in the Attacking 2 podcast this week that when we're trailing in a game, or generally when we're just chasing a goal towards the end of a game, I wouldn't make a substitution like bringing Barkley on for Kovacic or the other way around or whatever. No, I'd take N'Golo Kanté off and have Barkley on the left with Kovacic on the right of our midfield three, or even Loftus-Cheek and Kovacic. Why not? When we need a goal, I see that as a very valid option. I think it's something that we definitely should try when we're chasing a goal. Of course, it always depends on the opposition and it always depends on how the game's going. But still, I think that's, when we're chasing a goal, I'm not saying there's no point in having Kanté on the pitch, but then you don't necessarily need or want that slightly more defensive-minded midfielder in there anymore, because all you're doing is chasing a goal anyway. So I think it's a very valid option, but that's really everything that's worth mentioning that Sarri spoke about after the game yesterday. And now getting into Chelsea, speaking about our lineup that I think will play and I think should play, and also, of course, what we should do and what we should expect from Burnley as well. Now, lineup-wise, I think most of it we kind of know who's going to start, especially after who played against Pate last night as well. I mean, it's going to be Kepa in goal, Azpilicueta and Alonso as the two fullbacks, Rudiger and David Luiz as the centre-backs, Jorginho and Conte will start in midfield, that's for sure. All of those that I just mentioned, I can all guarantee that they will start. But then, as Kovacic started the game last night and only got subbed off with just over 10 minutes left, I reckon Ross Barkley will get the nod and start in midfield ahead of the Croat. And to be honest, I can very much so understand why Sarri would quite possibly do that, simply because Burnley, I expect them to sit very deep and they will try to force us out wide, which then forces us to cross the ball. And when we do that, we need a midfielder that pushes forward into the box and that can also win headers. And Barkley does that, and he's obviously a lot taller and, therefore better at headers than Kovacic is. And Kovacic doesn't push into the box anywhere near enough anyway. So, it would also help the striker, when Barkley or whoever the midfielder is, and I expect it to be Barkley, does that. Then coming to the front three, I suppose Morata is going to start up top, even though in the preview for the Bate game that went up on Wednesday, I predicted Giroud to start at Burnley. But then I thought Morata would start last night. But he didn't, and Giroud played the full 90 minutes. And I'm just going to assume that because of that, Morata will start and play on Sunday, especially because Giroud didn't exactly do himself many favours with his performance last night, although not all of that should be blamed on him not playing well. It was also, I don't know, it's a bit tricky. It wasn't just him being bad, he just wasn't involved. And, that is just as much his fault to an extent as it is his teammates' fault for not finding him more and, better, if you will. Now, coming to the wingers, and if Hazard doesn't start, which we don't know at the moment, like I said earlier, it's obviously going to be Willian and Pedro that start on either wing. But if Hazard does start, I'd personally start Pedro on the other side, but as usual, recently, Sarri would probably start Willian ahead of him. And to be fair, Willian had a very good game yesterday, better than Pedro, even though they both had a decent game, I thought, but Willian was just that bit better. But against someone like Burnley, I would prefer Pedro just because he's the more frequent shooter from outside the box, and that is a feature I'd like to have in the team against a team that sits deep. Because, I think it's a very handy feature to have. And then I also do hope that Loftus-Cheek will at least make the bench and maybe get to play for the last 20 or 15 minutes or so. That'd be very good. But to be honest, I kind of doubt it. So quickly, let's just run through the team that I think Sarri will field on Sunday. Kepa Arrizabalaga in goal, the two fullbacks of Cesar Azpilicueta and Marcos Alonso, centre-back partnership of Antonio Rudiger and David Luiz, a midfield three of Jorginho, N'Golo Kanté and Ross Barkley, and then a front three of, if he's fit, Eden Hazard and Willian on the other side, probably, or Pedro, and then Alvaro Morata up front, and if Hazard isn't fit, just Willian and Pedro. I'm pretty sure of that. Now, as I said, I do expect Burnley to sit deep, and I also expect them to attack mostly with long balls and then trying to get, to the second ball from their striker, then create chances that way. So Luiz and Rudiger will have to win the headers, be very good in the air, be strong in the air against obviously their strikers. And then the midfielders and fullbacks have to be very alert to get to the second balls first, and obviously make sure that we don't even concede any silly chances that, we could basically avoid. But going forward, we'll have almost all of the ball. I'm pretty sure of that. We'll have a lot of possession on Sunday. Like I said, Burnley will sit deep and crowd the middle. So I try to shoot from outside the box here and there, do it a little bit more than we usually do. Another advantage that, in my opinion, Ross Barkley has over Kovacic. Not necessarily that he's that much better at it, because both haven't really scored, from distance. Barkley, first of all, tries it more and also seems to be you know, Kovacic, whenever he has tried to go for a shot, he always scuffed them badly. And I don't know whether that is just bad luck for him whenever he tries to go for a shot, or whether that's, you know, something going wrong basically. But Barkley certainly seems to be better at that. So another advantage for Barkley, why, you know, I could kind of understand why Sarri would start him over Kovacic. Like, there's a lot of advantages you can get from shooting from outside the box, especially when the opponents hit deep. Like, you could just score a screamer. Why not? You could get a deflection goal. You know, even if it's lucky, it's a goal nonetheless. You could get a handball penalty, or you get at least a corner. So it's something, rather than just constantly squaring the ball around and then kind of losing the ball because it just gets a little bit too tight. But also, when we do cross the ball, put some variations into the crossing and make it difficult for Burnley to predict and defend. Go near post, go far post, try up and down crosses with not so much pace on it. Try blasting, you know, the balls through the box. Go low, go high, and most importantly, we need to make sure, like I said already, that we have men in the box when the crosses are flying in. Morata, obviously, if he starts, or Giroud, if it's him, has to be in the box always, you know, for these crosses. Barkley, of course, if he's the one to start in midfield, then the opposite winger as well. They have to try to get into the box, you know, at the far post as well. Even though they're unlikely to win the header, they have to be there to be, basically, to be someone that has to be marked. So the other players have less oppositions to, well, face, basically. And then also Alonso, obviously Aspie not so much, but Alonso on the left should try to get near the far post, or just, you know, further than the far post, if you will, you know, when the crosses do fly in, because he is very good in the air, and, you know, when he can afford to go forward that much, I think he should try to do that. Other than that, it's basically the same as always. Dominate, don't make mistakes, don't give stupid free kicks away like Zappacosta did yesterday. Create chances and take our chances, and then I think we should be more than capable of winning. My score prediction is going to be a 2-0 win. Like I said already before, I think it's going to be very, very tricky, but I do believe that we will get the job done. But yeah, that's really it from me. Leave me all of your thoughts ahead of the game down in the comments section below. Leave me your score predictions, leave me your predicted lineups, and also the lineups you would like to see. All of that down in the comments section below. Like I said in the beginning, let's see whether we can hit 500 or more likes on this video. That'd be massively appreciated. And of course, this is YouTube, so if you haven't already, do make sure you subscribe to 100% Chelsea, and also don't forget to hit the notification bell button and choose to be notified about all uploads so you don't miss any of our future videos. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, and I'll see you next time.